So tell us what an FFL Class 3 license is, obviously what FFL stands for, because anybody that wants to buy a gun, because obviously what you hear a lot is, oh, you can just get one from the internet and you don't even have to go through a background check, and which is not true. If you want to buy a gun from somebody, say in Texas, and you live in Florida, then that manufacturer will require a licensed FFL in your state, the state of Florida in this case, to ship it to. And then you'll go to that FFL and you'll do a background check and pay your fees. And yeah, you can pay the manufacturer for the gun, but you can't get the gun until the guy at the gun shop does your background check and says you're okay. So tell us a little bit about like what it takes to become an FFL and what you can do with it and why the government requires it or whatever.
Okay, absolutely.
Tell people what it is.
So in the late 60s, the things in the gun laws in the country, took some changing around. That Gun Control Act of 68, and it brought a lot of different things into the mix. And part of it was that they wanted to require background checks and everything like that, And then other background check bills that were getting passed later, that kind of made that system, right? Created this NICS system, and everything that they use to do all the background checks. So with all of those requirements at FFL, you have a federal firearms license holder, right? So basically you get a license from the government, which is your FFL essentially, in order to deal and sell guns, right? Like you can buy your firearms from the distributor at a discounted rate or whatever, as a buyer, get them shipped into your business, price them, put them out, and then your salesman deal with the people of the public. Like you're kind of the middleman between like the big distributors and the big companies and the direct with the companies and then the consumer, right? So you're the middleman. At that point, when you have an FFL, you're basically your gun store. Like you have an inventory, you buy inventory, you get it in, you price it, you put it out, your employees open the store, customers come in, they look at the guns, they purchase them, you process the paperwork, do the 4473, do all of that, take all the copies of the driver's license and all that sort of mess and fill out the paperwork and call in the background check to the ATF or the FBI. It's in the NICS system, it's part of the FBI, so it's like part of their background check system. So then you run through the background check, you get the response, you fill out the paperwork a certain way as they tell you to do it. It's a very specific way. You fill out the 4473 and then the dealer fills out his portion of it, right? And then you call the customer, hey, your background check came back, you're good. They take the gun, they go about their day. Like that whole process to have that license, that's what the FFL is to get into the business of selling guns for profit, like buying them in bulk, pricing them out, making a profit. And then getting those guns along to the consumer. You're part of that chain, that supply chain of getting the guns out. And that's why the Biden administration wants to go so hard on FFL holders and being so prickish about revocations right now. Because they're being pricks about revocation because they know that FFLs are essentially part of the supply chain that gets guns out to the end consumer. FFLs are not just, some person that set up a gun bazaar selling crap out of the back of the bus or whatever, like Hollywood depicts, and they think, that's how gun stores operate. And there's always the hidden room in the back with all the illegal shit, No, it's not like that. But in that change, though, it's just crazy to think about it in that perspective, with the FFL. So, you're selling guns for profit. That's part of your, livelihood. Not, just some hobby type thing. When you get the FFL, it's for the intention of getting into the business of selling guns.
What was how long did it take you to get that? What's the process? You got to take classes. Okay. You got to take tests.
A lot of people don't ever ask that question. That's interesting. You asked that. That's a good question. So it's really not that difficult. Like everyone thinks it's really difficult to get FFL. It's really not. There's a few building code requirements. So like if you're going to have a place of business, like say you're going to rent out like a little strip mall or something like that, and you need to use that as your place of business to run your gun store out of. Of course, you got to like check with the building code and make sure it's up to like certain codes, and you have to like, do all that kind of stuff with like the city and permits and codes and kind of local things. Like you have to make sure it's not like against the district that the store is in to deal firearms. Like you have to make sure there's no local ordinances that might prohibit you from having a gun store in your vicinity and the location that you're trying to put it in. If it's going into a strip mall, you have to have the agreement from the owner of the strip mall. They give you permission to run a gun store on their premises. Little things like that, small minutia that goes into the total check. They're going to call you and do it like kind of what they call a download, right? You're going to talk to your ATF person, your IOI, your industry person, and they're going to go over some stuff with you. Hey, here's how we want it filled out. And, they talk about the paperwork. They talk about what they expect from you, what you can ask them for if you have, any issues, and then say, here's your contact throughout this process. Okay, if you have a problem, you can contact this person and we'll work you through it. So they give you a means to mediate any type of potential issues that might result from, let's just say there's a confusing thing about the paperwork, or what form needs to be put in, or, oh, is this particular thing allowed, or, hey, I had a question about a technicality here. I want to make sure I clear it up, just to kind of make sure everything runs smoothly, So it's really not that big of a process. You submit the paperwork, you do a little download with them on the phone, they check all your building permits and things like that, and you can get your gun license. It's not that incredibly difficult to do.
And how long did it take from start to finish till you got your license?
Well, I think it really wasn't more than like a couple of months maybe. I don't think the process was very long at all. Because as long as you have all your shit in order and everything is, just where it needs to be, and you carefully fill out the paperwork and you submit it, and the talk with them goes well, they generally just kind of approve it right then and there, and you're good to go. Not that big of a deal. You have to meet certain security requirements. You have to have a certain layer of amount of layers of security where the FFL is going to be at. So like they might want you to have additional bars on the windows. They might want to make sure you have a vault to put the guns in that is hard, cased and secure, like a concrete vault or something. They want to make sure the storage is up to par, that you're not just going to be shoving these things in a freaking broom closet, at the local strip mall.
Right.
So they make sure your storage is kind of up to par, and that, the security that you've got, maybe security cameras, alarm systems, motion detectors, fog lights, maybe the little gas systems that spray the crap in there if someone kicks in, anything that can delay or slow down someone from stealing the firearms when they go on the premises. That's really what they're concerned about, is theft. They're concerned about people breaking into gun stores and stealing guns at night and stuff. So you have to make sure that the security is really, really good, and that it's really hard to break into and that sort of thing. And that's part of the process. They're going to be pretty stringent about that. But if there's any questions or issues along the way, you have somebody that you can talk to, and they're generally pretty easy going for the most part, to be honest.
Cool.